times attorneys have hid the different things that are going on from your state legislature. So you won't, hold on one second, guys. I'm sorry. Hold on one second. I'm hearing a feedback a little bit that I shouldn't hear. Test, 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 test. Test, 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 test. Hey, say something real quick today.
Something. Can you hear me?
Say something again.
Can you hear me? Testing, testing.
Okay. All right.
Check.
So I was hearing a little feedback, but it's better now. First, I think the speaker was just playing. Say something again today.
Mic check.
Perfect. You are good. Okay.
All right.
So what we got to understand, guys, is the state legislators have had problems with trying to see what is right and what is wrong because the attorneys just failed to teach them. And another thing that happened is the attorneys who know that we are coming across the states have started to try to hide disclosure from our servants. So what they'll literally do is literally try to block the notices by hiding them in the IT department so nobody can get the word through, so the legislature doesn't see it. Benji, who's in South Dakota, I believe, talked to me earlier and said that one of his legislators wanted to hear and know what was going on, but that he did not get the notices from us, and he even asked about it. I know that in New Hampshire, the attorneys went behind the legislators' back and actually blocked their ability to hear from the IT department there. And it had to be reopened. How do I know that? I don't know. There's no way for me to know that it really got opened back up. But I know. Right? So I will tell you guys that this is what happens when you really start to find out how the law really works and you start to hold government accountable. Politicians often will be blocked because it's been the attorneys, guys, who have hidden information from our servants to stop us from showing them the right thing. And then another thing that has happened is the attorneys have failed to give full disclosure of the real law to the legislative body members as well. So it's just a big mess with all of that. So I wanted you guys to be able to know this because we are going to have to bypass the attorneys in some ways to make sure that this gets out. Now, the attorneys are highly worried across the country because they realize for the first time that the people are actually finding out what is going on in mass, and the only way they could stop the legislature from standing up and giving the people the honor they are due is to stop the legislature from knowing. So right now we're literally at a point where the attorneys across the nation are actively trying to block justice, but they don't have a lot of power because the legislative body members are being taught by our people around the nation. So anywhere where our people got access to the government officials, even once, we already have a situation where there's some communication there. So the attorneys are having a real hard time, and it's about to completely collapse for them. So I want you guys to know and understand that the Supreme Court has completely flipped. Things have completely turned, and we've shown proof of that. We've shown the Supreme Court saying exactly what we say. We showed the federal legislature doing the same. And now, guys, we are literally at the point where the nation is about to turn completely over. And I'm going to explain to you how and what we need to do. But remedy, when it comes to anything that was taken away from you in any case that did not have common law due process, I'm telling you, you could have it back. Your house, your kid, your dog, your money if they can't give it back, right? If the dog is no longer alive or your grandma's no longer alive, they're going to have to pay you. If they took your liberty, your property by any statute, I'm talking big junk right now, y'all. I'm saying things that nobody will say. If they took your house, your dog, your mom, your kids, your car, your anything without a trial by jury in a court of record proceeding by common law is game the freak over. I'm just telling y'all what's coming. Now, you control the speed by which these things come, right? Because the doors are open, the knowledge is there, the legislative body members are highly concerned where they know the law because they realize they've been cheated and the attorneys have used their power unlawfully. It is game over. So I'm going to invite everybody on. I'm going to check with our host, and we're going to open up the mics on Twitter. We're going to get to talking a little bit, and then I will explain how we will destroy all of this. Now, if you are a legislative body member in any state, you don't want to miss this. I'm going to tell you why. Because we're going to show you how to have remedy from what is coming. What's coming? What's coming is a day of reckoning. Anybody who took a house, car, kid, if you wrote legislation that says somebody can take your kid, somebody else's kid, I'm letting you know right now, you are liable, right? If you wrote legislation saying that some agency can take somebody's kid and there's no trial by jury in a court of record, if you don't know what a trial by jury in a court of record is, let me help you understand. You can't have a single program. You can't have a single program from the Fed paying you money in any of these processes that you've done. So if you wrote a statute that says an administrative agency can be overtaking children, I'm going to just tell you, you have already put yourself in serious liability. And I'm going to tell you that if the people should choose, they could take your house, your car, your money. I'm going to tell you why. Because based on the way that governments work, and if you don't believe me, any legislator, if you look at the work of John Locke, who is a forefather in Western law, he will show you that every single government position is a trust. The constitutions, the governments themselves are a trust, right? And you are the trustee who was put here, and you swore that you would protect everybody's rights and property. This is what you swore to. Now, I'm going to just help you, legislators. The attorneys who dealt with you when you got hired, who were to disclose to you your job, they didn't tell you that you were part of a trust agreement and that when you swore, you made an oath to handle certain things which made you personally liable and personally responsible to the people. If you look at New Hampshire Constitution, you'll see where it says that the people have the power to hold the government accountable at all times. Some states will say at all times in a legal way, they have authority or power over you or the ability to hold you to an exact due regard to the law. Now, you may look and say, who is this gentleman talking to me? I'm a regular guy. I am not an attorney, and that's the very reason I'm going to tell you the truth and give you a chance to get ahead of this. State attorneys, prosecutors, state judges, state legislators, if you took part in any case or writing any legislation that says somebody can have their kid taken without a trial by jury in a court of record, where there was some proven criminal acts, you're liable. Because it's a trust agreement, because the Constitution is a trust document and you are trustees, and if you don't believe me about that, just go to Virginia Constitution. It'll tell you that government are the trustees and servants of the people. Go to John Locke's 2 Treatises of Government. It'll tell you that the government is a trust. That's what it is. So as trustees, you swore to protect the people's rights and property. Now, over time, we've gotten to a point where we trusted attorneys to tell us what the law is, how things go, what we need to do. If the video is getting glitchy on Rumble, please go out and come back in. But if you have been involved in these things, I need you to understand that if you go back to John Locke, 2 Treatises of Government, it tells you clearly. Pilsner just shared it in the chat bubble on Twitter. If you have been involved in this or in the legislation, the attorneys have used your power without right. The attorneys being officers of the court, people who like to do court cases, they make money as a whole off of the number of cases or conflict that they can find. Now, the problem is that if you are a trustee, you are an agent or servant of the people. What happens is that you have a fiduciary duty to serve the people. And if you should fail to serve the people, protect their rights, or if you should attack their rights, it is all a violation against the Constitution or warring against the Constitution. Now, warring against the Constitution is a really important situation, because when you war against the trust that gave you your power, you're literally attacking the people. Now, let me help you understand something, attorneys, judges, government officials, so you understand what's coming. So when you go against the people's rights and property as a trustee, and you have what you call adversarial proceedings that were administrative, that's not judicial. So every time you took a kid, every time you took child support money, every time you took tax money, every time you took somebody's car, every time you took somebody's dog, grandma, you stopped them from going outside for COVID, you interfered with their business, all this different stuff, right? Every single time you did it, you actually helped an adversary go against the people. Now, here's an assignment for you. Everybody who's in government in every state, just go to your state constitution and look up the word treason in your Bill or Declaration of Rights. And you're going to see that anybody who helps, aids, or give comfort to an enemy, if there's two witnesses of you doing that, you're guilty of treason or an open admission in court. Now, what I need you to understand is, if people caught you taking kids in any case, and it's two people, and you help the adversarial agency, if you're calling the agency hearing an adversarial hearing, you're agreeing to the fact that you helped an adversary. If you are a state legislature member and you have written legislation to allow for people to take people's kids, houses, cars, dogs, your name has been used to do adversarial cases against those who you are the agents and trustees for. This is very serious and bad. Now, I'm not here to blame you, because it might have happened before you got into office as a legislator. It might have happened without you understanding and knowing. So what I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to show you the freight train coming down the street, right? I know you can't see the tracks, but the freight train is coming down the street. The Supreme Court has already admitted that all this stuff that's been done with these administrative cases, where you've taken stuff from the people, was unlawful. Give me a second, guys. I need to get a charger for my other device. It just dropped on my Twitter side, so I got to get me a charger. So give me a second. But what I'm saying is that every single person who took part in these different court processes, right? Tribunal processes, because it's not courts, who took something from somebody administratively, the Supreme Court is now saying that it's a violation and that the government can't do that. Now, we're the ones who put them on notice to let the Supreme Court know that we knew that they couldn't do that. So now there's nobody left to protect you if you should be found involved with any administrative hearings going against the people. There is no hope. There is no hope. There's nowhere to run. There's no way to make it right. There's no way to solve it, except for the best way to do it is to give remedy to the people now. Now, what do I mean when I say give remedy to the people? If you're in the legislature, you don't want to make the mistakes of saying our hands are tied now, or the Democrats won't let us, or the Republicans won't let us. Well, the way that my bar association card is, I don't know if I could do something. Listen, the people not really gonna hear that right now, because we know, and the Supreme Court knows. And if you should block remedy from the people, just go to the various state constitutions. One of the guaranteed rights of the people. Hold on, guys. I need to find something to charge this device. Give me a second. The guaranteed rights of the people, guys, cannot be taken away. And so and they are the same for everybody in every state. So if you are in Alaska and you see that it doesn't say that the people have an inherent right to uh, have justice carried out freely and without charge and without delay and without denial, it doesn't mean that it's not due in every state. So if you think that, or somebody in your legislative house or senate tells you that we don't have to worry about this, it's going to die or go away, or that it's not in our state constitution, I'm telling you, there's a deception that's going on. But you got to realize, when you get caught doing these types of wrong, it's your name that is on the line. So when you get bad actors who tell you, well, I'm not really gonna, we don't have to deal with this, or we could just ignore it, it's gonna go away, realize that it's your name that's on the line. It's you that have to pay the price. And with the Supreme Court calling it a violation, they're telling you that it is a crime, it's a felony, it's stuff that's worth a prison sentence. So I need you guys who are here to tag all of your legislative body members, tell everyone you know who's in office, and I would even challenge them, if you believe that you're not bound to follow the common law, if you believe that you're not bound as a government official to protect the people and their rights and to give remedy. Now, I didn't say have a court case. If you stole somebody's kids or wrote legislation to do it, took their house, took their dog, took their car, took their grandma, or an attorney tricked you into doing it, the only thing left for you to do to not fall into judgment in a bad way, even if you weren't in office, is to correct the issue. So we're telling you ahead of time. Now, I'm going to open up the mics real quick so we can talk to our host and see how she's doing. Make sure we send this out everywhere because the day of reckoning has come. There is going to be no more funny talk about how the politicians can't do it. It's too hard. Oh, it's the wrong day of the week or whatever. We got some great politicians that do the right thing. But for those who don't do the right thing, I'm letting you know now. You can play the game if you want, but the Supreme Court has threw everybody under the bus, right? The Supreme Court is telling that the government is unlawfully taking things from people, and your only duty in government is to protect the rights of the people and their property and to uphold the law of God. It's not your duty to take everything from the people. It's not your duty to make money off of administrative cases. And in every state, there's administrative funds made in the Highway Safety Act. There's administrative funds that is made from CPS, Child Support Enforcement, a lot of things that would give you unclean hands, meaning the state is making money and the municipalities are making money off of these different things, so they can't be righteous judges. And if they're not using the common law in a court of record, which the definition of court of record has been changed between Black's Law Fourth and Black's Law Fifth, the Supreme Court has come out and told that people have been having things taken in tribunals that are not courts, and you can't do it. So the people of America, we're getting ready to explode this thing and show everybody. The people who are watching right now are going to tell everybody. This is going to go viral everywhere. You're going to see probably more views on this video and this Twitter space than any other one I've ever done. And the people are going to come and they're going to collect. And this has happened throughout history. Whenever governments get out of line, forget the law or pervert the law and start attacking the people, and the people find out, it never ends well for the bad actors in government, ever. Even to the king in England, it never ended well. And so the people are educated now and we understand. But everybody share this real quick for me while I go and while I go ahead and get everything ready. We've been on for 31 minutes for the gentleman who asked. How's it going today?
Everything is good and well. Thank you everyone for showing up. And if you guys could please retweet or repost this space, it would be greatly appreciated. And I have, and I've also seen that Abolish has posted all of her legislators of her state I've done the same thing, and if we could retweet each other, whoever is tagging their administrators in this chat, it would be greatly appreciated because they would keep seeing it in their feed. It would be great if they would actually show up, but even if they don't show up, they can at least go ahead and play back the recording. Um, but I'm here, Dave. If you want me to help you with requests, you're gonna have to make me co-host.
Oh, you're not a
Um,
co-host yet?
Nah, you know you be tripping. You know you got Rumble, Twitter Space going on. That's too much.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was gonna try to get on Facebook again soon.
Oh my God! Now you really pushing it.
I gotta figure out how to do it, you know?
I know. You got to show me how to do what you're doing right now. I don't know how to do Spaces and Rumble at the same time, so you're gonna have to teach me how to do that.
Oh yeah,
But
it gets crazy.
I can see. I can see. But like I said, everybody please repost this space. This is probably one of the most important spaces that Dave has done because it pertains to all of us. I'm sure that all of us can say that if it hasn't happened to us individually, someone in our family has lost homes, cars, children. So this affects all of us. So if we could spread this message out as much as possible, so we can get these notices taken care of that Dave has put in so much time and effort and sweat and love into for you guys and God, it would be so appreciative on all of us, if you guys could help us out with that.
Okay. So, guys, it's going to get good. So, I'm going to tell you guys once again what I have to say. If somebody has taken a car from you, if somebody gave you a ticket and got money for it, if somebody has taken your house, your kids, your dog, if somebody shut you down during a lockdown, if somebody shut down your business, if somebody said we can stop you from working and all this foolishness, if you don't get something placed in your arm and all this craziness, any administrative decision in any administrative tribunal, there is going to be retribution. Now, a lot of people were trying to go to the Supreme Court and begging the Supreme Court to tell that what was being done, what was being done wrong. But guys, I'm letting you know. Let me know if you can still hear me on Twitter. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Please give me a thumbs up or a like if you can hear me on Twitter.
Yep, we can still hear
Perfect.
you.
So, guys, if these people who have taken stuff from you did it without the common law, the Supreme Court said that it is a violation, meaning it is wrong every single time. If there was no trial by jury, see, if you guys remember, there was a gentleman named Artie, I believe, who had a discussion with me as an attorney, and he was trying to tell me how I didn't know the law. And I said, listen, you guys have been taking stuff from people in administrative tribunals. You can't do that, my friend. And he said, well, no, if you don't get 6 months in jail, there's a court case, recent case that says we can do this to you. We could just run you over and take your stuff without a jury. Well, now you see that was a lie. As the Supreme Court has come out and said, after we told the Supreme Court to say it, that's the craziest part. We told the Supreme Court, you got like 14 days to tell that y'all been using tribunals that are not court. And then Gorsuch did it on November 7th, 2022. Then we came out again within the last month and told the courts, you better tell that you guys are using alternative tribunals in order to take stuff and that it's a crime. And then they told. And then we told that you can't remove constitutional due process and mandates by creating a separate legislative system that will create a tribunal to let them deal with it, where the legislators and the different government officials could say, hey, it wasn't us, it was the agency. See, all this stuff that we told them they could not do, they thought it was a game. So we started off way back with going after the ATF. You see they're falling apart. They're almost completely removed from power. OSHA and all these different entities, we understood that we had to put things in place in a way to fix this from the top down because the top guys weren't in on the fix. And then we had to teach the people. So the baseline, we taught the people by the hundreds of thousands, and then we taught the Supreme Court. So then when the Supreme Court got notice from the thousands, they realized the nation flipped. And then now, as the Supreme Court is telling that everything we said was true, the nation is flipping in the people. The only thing that leaves in the middle are the state courts, the state legislators, which many of the state legislators and courts have flipped now because they realize they were in the wrong. So things are turning completely. Now, I don't think anybody in our lifetime has ever seen anything happen like this at the same time, and I praise God for it. But right now, our government servants are realizing that attorneys have put their livelihood, their freedom, and the such in danger by using our legislative houses and our courts to attack the people. And I believe that, many of the people who were wicked, who created these systems, they thought by not teaching us in school that nothing would ever happen, that they would never get caught. But now they are caught. We had you guys read it the other day. We had Jaron Jackson read from the Supreme Court what Justice Gorsuch had to say. Maybe we should put it in this video again, and Twitter Space, if Jaron would like to read it again for us. But we are in a position right now. Hope I made the wrong person speaker. Hold on. I'm going to give Jaron a mic.
Yeah, I just tried to send him one.
Okay, perfect. So if Jaron can get it, if he has the time or he's able, I know he is after church, so he could possibly be tied up with family and a ton of stuff. So I don't know.
I'm working on your video. But what you want me to read?
So I want you to read what Justice Gorsuch said again, because we have put the Supreme Court on notice, and I want the legislators of every state, all the politicians, all the judges, all the attorneys, all the state actors and executive branch members, I want them to understand exactly what the Supreme Court has said about their behavior.
Yeah, you want just the part that you want to read the notice again, or do you just want to read the quotes from the actual case?
Let's read the quotes from the case.
Okay. Do you want me to
Actually, you know what? Let's it might be wise to actually read the notice.
Okay.
Well, but the notice got what Gorsuch said in there in one part. No, that's the new notice.
Right. I can do the one that you just did, that I read the other day.
Yeah, let's do that.
If you want to.
Let's do that.
Just read it from the top?
Yep, and then if you want to let them hear the context of what Gorsuch said as you did the other day, that might be good.
Okay. Yeah, just stop me whenever you want to teach or highlight anything. Here we go. This is the notice that Dave wrote, that the team assembled and he deployed to rip the heart out of the godless commies, as I call them. This is notice of People's Assembly and notice of corrective wisdom from the Supreme Court. Notice to agent is notice to principal, and notice to principal is notice to agent. I, state your name, one of the people, as seen in the 50 state constitutions, sui juris, do present you with this notice that you may provide immediate due care. Please take notice. The people have assembled and realized that agencies were being given faux, that is fake, authority to take liberty, property, and rights from the people without the constitutionally required due process with courts of record and trials by jury. The people have come together to put the Supreme Court and the federal legislature on notice, who in return have openly spoken about the violation of rights and problems with the unlawful practices that have been run by attorneys who have not understood the law. Please see evidence from Justice Gorsuch communication in a recent court case below. And then we give the excerpt. This is from.
Do you want to give them the background, or would you rather do the background and read it from your area, or would you rather do this?
Yeah, I can summarize, and then obviously if you want to spike footballs or add the better wisdom, this is from a court case of the Security Exchange Commission versus Jacarsi. Jacarsi is suing, or excuse me, the SEC is suing Jacarsi, right? And this has worked its way all the way up to the Supreme Court. This is docket number 22859. The date argued was November 29, 2023. So this is just over 2 weeks. This is about 2 weeks ago. It'll be 3 weeks on Wednesday, right? So it was 2.5 weeks ago. Okay. So
Wait, let me say this real quick. This is before, this is after we've been going after the Supreme Court for the past year plus, showing them where the law has been broken and the Supreme Court wasn't forcing the lower courts to uphold the actual law, and they were taking things from the people without right. They were using things that were not courts. They were using things called legislative tribunals, which are not courts, but deceiving the people as if they were courts. Now, there has never been a time in history where the government has gotten all these different notices from the people telling exactly how the law has been broken, exactly the schemes they have been using, and how they have failed the people with the real law. So Gorsuch and these different people are responding to orders from the people, us, telling them that they need to deal with these things immediately. So let's keep going.
For additional background, Dave did a webinar on November 15 called The Destruction of Corruption. And then in that webinar, he told us that he was going to write notices to tell the Supreme Court what to say. He wrote those notices, published those notices on November 21st. 8 days later, that is 1 week and 1 day later, Justice Gorsuch is saying what I'm about to read. Okay, so he had a webinar with his team. He told the team he's going to write a notice. He wrote the notice. The notices were published to the Supreme Court. 8 days later, the Supreme Court, Justice Gorsuch had the following to say. Okay, so that's additional context. But this is from November 29, 2023. This is Justice Gorsuch speaking. Quote, so Mr. Fletcher is the government litigator. He is arguing on behalf of the Security Exchanges Commission, okay? So, Mr. Fletcher, with respect to your argument that Congress can move something from courts into agencies and the Seventh Amendment doesn't speak to that because it's not a suit, I think Noah Webster described a suit as any action or process for the recovery of a right or a claim before any tribunal, which would seem to be a problem.
Now, let me let you guys hear this. So we got to look deep, because one of the fundamental issues that we've shown the Supreme Court and other entities over a year and a half to 2 years is that the attorneys try to say that the people don't get a right to have a trial by jury because they're not actually suing in a normal type of case, or there's some other circumstances that allow them to bypass what they swore to do in the Constitution with a trial by jury and what's called a court of record based on the common law. So when I asked you guys a question over the last couple of years, I'll say, hey, so if somebody tells you you get a trial by jury in all cases, then when they tell you you can't have a trial by jury because the Constitution say all cases you're to get a trial by jury, how is it then are they taking your stuff in something that's not a court and is not a case? And people looked at me like I was stupid. But you're going to see the Supreme Court justice is spilling the beans and telling these idiots have been stealing stuff from the people, and the idea they're using is that this isn't actually a case because it's not judicial, but they would never tell you. So when people tell me I had a court case, but it's a legislative tribunal, I always look and I say, oh, you don't realize yet what's happening. You don't understand. None of us ever been to court. We're not going to court unless we committed some crime under the common law and they held a trial by jury that could use the real law with the jury exercising its functions to go after the law and the facts, which is what they hide in pretty much every single case that they've been doing. All right, let's keep going, Jerry. Oh, you're muted, Jerry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was texting some legislators of your space link. So I was like, he's gonna talk. I'm gonna invite some people real fast. Okay, so picking right off where I left.
Wait, let's hit that last thing you hit again, so people understand it in context. I mean, right. I'm sorry, so they understand it with the background.
Right. So I'll start with Justice Gorsuch. So from the top, this is Justice Gorsuch speaking, and again, Gorsuch is Supreme Court Justice. Fletcher is the government litigator. He's arguing on behalf of the litigator. This is the government's lawyer arguing against or going up against Supreme Court Justice. So, Mr. Fletcher, with respect to your argument that Congress can move something from courts into agencies.
Okay, so pay attention, y'all. He said they can remove it from courts into agencies. So I want you guys to remember this, because there were people who were bad actors who we found out traffic kids and stuff. We saw their records, who would try to come and say, don't believe what David is saying about these things not being court. So the Supreme Court Justice is telling you that the text that the legislatures are writing removes you from an actual court to something else that's not a court, and they're attacking people with that. So every legislator in America, every government official needs to understand, every PC, that all your friends who are legislative body members or government officials are in deep trouble, and I'm begging and pleading for the sake of them, for them to repent and apologize to the people and to give people stuff back as fast as you possibly can. Please keep going, Jen.
So we have Mr. Fletcher. With respect to your argument that Congress can move something from courts into agencies, and the Seventh Amendment doesn't speak to that because it's not a suit. I think Noah Webster described a suit as any action or process for the recovery of a right or a claim before any tribunal, which would seem to be a problem. That's a pretty contemporaneous definition. And then Justice Brennan in Grant Financiera, I think, addressed your argument pretty squarely when he said Congress cannot eliminate a party's Seventh Amendment right to a jury trial merely by relabeling the cause of action and placing jurisdiction in an administrative agency. Thoughts?
Okay, guys. So you have a Seventh Amendment right. The Seventh Amendment includes the words common law. See, you have a right to a trial by jury, and the common law, if the jury is using the common law, they can overrule any court in America, period, right? But the problem is that attorneys and government officials have not told you this. Now, I've been telling you guys this since 2018, and there were many people who wanted to fight and make it seem like it was not true, but now the cat is out the bag. We've accomplished what God has given us to do with making the Supreme Court tell and educating the people. Now it's heavy because there is literally nowhere to run. There's nowhere to go. So either you stand on the fact that the Supreme Court Justice just said that you have a right to a trial by jury in the common law and the people have been done wrong, or you stand in a place where you put yourself against the people and the highest level of government now. Keep going, Jeremy.
This is Mr. Fletcher. Quote, yeah, so I guess that's still inconsistent with what the court has said in Grant Financiera.
Now, guys, notice the uhs, because for all of you legislators out there, this is what's going to happen to your attorneys when they have to speak before actual power. See, they've been making little games, stealing your power, stealing your ability to write legislation and making legislation to take stuff from the people without trials by jury and courts of record. Cars, houses, kids, dogs, grandmas, money, all types of stuff. Now, the pendulum has swung the other way, and everybody is about to know that the law has been broken in your name. Now, the law says to give remedy, you need to return the people's stuff without denial, without delay, and it didn't say with a court case. You don't even get to charge him. You need to give back what has been stolen by your pen and your name. Let's go, Jaron.
Justice Gorsuch, I just quoted from Grana Financiera. Mr. Fletcher, I'm sorry. Yeah, I misspoke. I don't think that's what the court held in Grana Financiera. It's inconsistent with what the court said. Justice Gorsuch, are you saying I misread it, Mr. Fletcher?
Okay,
Mr.
guys.
Fletcher.
Now, I need y'all to realize Justice Gorsuch is not being nice right now. Justice Gorsuch is hammering this man and this brilliant attorney who's fighting in the Supreme Court at this level, at this time in his career, who would have to be a powerhouse as a government attorney, can't get a sentence out without See, for a long time, people have played with the power of the people, lied, stole from the people, made statutes to attack the people. Now, I'm telling you ahead of time that when you attack the people, you disown your own power. That's from John Locke. And you allow for the people to remove you and create a new government and prosecute you. So I want you to know, in real life, the Supreme Court is pissed at the state legislators, pissed at the agencies who've been taking stuff from people, pissed at the police, pissed at the attorneys. And this is the Supreme Court don't get a chance to talk to people every day. They don't get a chance to talk to the people who've done wrong. So now is a time, after we demanded that they tell, now there's a time for them to get somebody in front of them, and they're not playing. So I want you to think, if the high-level Supreme Court attorneys can't fight when they run into the Supreme Court, what do you think your everyday, cornbread attorney is going to do in front of the Supreme Court? If the powerhouses, if the highly educated are in front of the Supreme Court and all they can do is go, I don't think, I believe, nah. The time for all the corruption and all the wrong is over. Now, we're trying to tell you ahead of time because a lot of people in legislative bodies, a lot of executive branch members are going to prison. I'm telling you the honest to God truth. A lot of you guys who do wrong every day on purpose, you are going to prison. So I'm trying to tell you how to make things right ahead of time. See, I told you guys this day was coming. I went around the country and I told legislative body members, hey, your name has been used. You're in trouble. I want to tell you because I don't think it's fair that the attorneys and different government officials and judges who are working in two positions didn't tell you this. But now I'm telling you, you're about to go to jail over these other people if you don't fix stuff. Because there has been people sending you notice telling you about this, and a lot of government officials ignored what was right. And now we got the Supreme Court to tell on you. So the Supreme Court has no choice but to declare, as they did, that it is a violation against the people, which means you could go to prison for life for it. It's fighting against the Constitution. It's treason. It is corruption. It is warring against the Constitution. The government has already said that this is treason. So if you would choose to not do what is right, you're putting yourself in a position where the law is going to come down on you. And I don't really believe that there's no attorney in America good enough to get you off of things where people have given you notice and you fail to respond, and the Supreme Court is calling it a violation. But let us continue. Go ahead, Jaron. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so the last thing he said was, I'm sorry, I misspoke. I don't think that's what the court held in Grana Financiera. It's inconsistent with what the court said. Justice Gorsuch, are you saying I misread it, Mr. Fletcher?
Uh-oh.
Mr. Fletcher, no, Justice Gorsuch, I'm saying, Justice Gorsuch, you said that's a purely taxonomic change, Mr. Fletcher. Yes, Justice Gorsuch. And that's not enough to render it no longer a suit for purposes of the Seventh Amendment.
Okay,
right?
guys, notice Gorsuch is saying, oh, you trying to say that you can now render something no longer a suit because y'all flipped the name of it and a description and changed it and said the legislature can give it to an agency? See, they didn't like the idea of not being able to take your kids, houses, dogs, and whatever inside of a court because it takes a lot of money from them in a court because they got to pay for every court case. It takes for them to use the real law. It takes for them to have evidence. They can't use hearsay. They can't play games. They didn't like that because they couldn't take enough in those type of tribunals. I actually saw in Arizona where the government officials were upset because they couldn't win enough cases to take kids when they had juries. And that wasn't even under the common law in the court of record. But 87% of the cases were dropped on the spot when there were juries involved because they realized the government were playing games. So then they went to the legislature and got the legislature to change it so that they could be able to do the dirt that they wanted to do and get more cases against the parents. So then after that, it ended up where they would do cases where it was 1 in 400 kids returned. 1 in 400 kids returned when they got it their way. So in other words, the government and attorneys realized that they could win more cases against the people who they were supposed to represent. This is the crazy thing. If you are agents and trustees of the people and you represent them and protect their rights and property, how do you remove one of their rights? We got government officials who literally believe that they could write a statute to remove rights of a parent without a trial by jury in a court of record to take something from somebody. They literally believe you can go in front of an administrative hearing and just say, we got rid of your right, you're no longer the parent. So our legislators have been poisoned into believing things that are not true based on law, and our Supreme Court Justice Gorsuch is telling right now. So you're listening to Jaren Jackson, who ran for office, telling what the Supreme Court is saying about what the government has been doing after we ordered them to do it on with several notices, and they have come through on every one. Go ahead, Jaren.
And that's not enough to render it. This is Justice Gorsuch speaking. And that's not enough to render it no longer a suit for purposes of the Seventh Amendment, right? Mr. Fletcher. Yes, I think in context, Grana Financiera is talking about a proceeding that was in a bankruptcy court in an Article 3 setting. I think the court's subsequent cases, including oil states, have said if you're permissibly in an Article 3 tribunal, then the Seventh Amendment doesn't have independent work to do. I apologize for misidentifying the case I was relying on. Quote, this is Justice Gorsuch, quote, all right, but it would seem strange. And we don't usually say the government can avoid a constitutional mandate merely by relabeling or moving things around. It's as much a violation to do something indirectly as it is directly, we usually say, right?
Now, let me give you all this. So Gorsuch just nailed multiple things we gave him in notice. Multiple things. So he's letting them know you can't bypass a constitutionally mandated provision. So that's not just federal constitution, that's federal and state. If the government guarantees that they are not going to go against your life, liberty, and property except for by due process of law, which does not mean, as the silly attorneys say, just a hearing. It literally means a trial by jury in a court of record with the ability to be able to protect yourself, defend yourself, to cross-examine enemies, to have nobody come after you and no warrants issued except for if there be probable cause and somebody swearing under the penalty of perjury. Most agency cases, from CPS to child support enforcement, etc., has nobody swearing that they were harmed. Even January 6 cases. So now we see that government officials have been running cases against people, changing the necessity when it comes to the due process that is involved. See, the government created back in the 30s a separate type of due process that dealt with administrative agencies. It has nothing to do with what they swore to do with the constitutions. So they made up administrative law, came up with this whole idea of what to do. Now, I will tell you, you could go through all 50 state constitutions. You will never see where the people said, you have the right to create something called administrative law and then use it against the people to do suits against them. Doesn't exist. So if there was never a grant of power to be able to use administrative cases against the people, it is not to be used. And the Supreme Court is telling. So a lot of legislators are getting ready to go to prison. Now what's going to happen is you're going to find that some of the legislators have been behind the scenes emailing and making calls to the courts, and the courts are going to tell them what law to put in order to make more cases against the people. I am begging and pleading with. See, I don't have to beg you, I don't have to ask you, because the way that things are going, you're going to get steamrolled in a little while. The people are going to realize the Supreme Court is telling, all the other courts are going to find out. Then the courts are going to do what they do all the time. They're going to say, it's the legislature that did it. They're not going to tell that the attorneys told you to do it. So they're going to start prosecuting legislative body members. They're going to say, look, this legislator made this law, and we were just following him. And then you're going to see the attorneys say, we ain't had nothing to do with it. We weren't even in office. So legislative body members, you're going to find the attorneys are going to tell on you, and the courts are going to tell on you. And then for the legislature, they're going to say, well, it's the judges, it's the attorneys. They told us to do this, and we just took it at face value. We didn't realize the law was being broken. But see, the attorneys are going to say, look, I'm not in office. You're the one who swore, right? Because they usually get off. See, the attorneys are usually not in the middle of cases. They're just arguing cases. And they don't prosecute each other when they lie often. But now what's going to happen is they're all going to separate, because they realize they're all going to prison if the truth comes out. So I'm telling you guys, if you are a legislative body member now, it would be very wise to go and find out what cases has been done against the people. Tell that the government officials who have been in cases have taken stuff from people, and every case that you find out was not using the common law and correct due process, give the people their stuff back quickly and ask for mercy. See, I don't want everybody to go to prison for life, because some people did stuff by mistake. Some people got lied to by attorneys. A lot of legislative body members didn't know, and when they find out, they're going to start fixing stuff. You need to stop what you're doing now, call the rest of the legislature together and say, we need to correct all these cases, give people back whatever to make them whole, before these people start calling for prosecution against all of us because we didn't know. And let the ones who do it for a lifetime, who do wrong on purpose and try to harm the people, let them get the judgment they're going to get by themselves. But I don't even want you to get what's going to happen. And I'm telling you, every single time in history that this happens, where the people find out you broke the law and part of the government start telling on the other part of the government, it ain't good for the people in government doing wrong. I'm just telling you, right? Now, you could believe attorneys, but you see what happened with the best attorneys in front of this Supreme Court justice. But we're going to let Jaron go ahead. Go ahead, Jaron.
So that was the end of the quoted portion between Gorsuch and Fletcher. So then Dave put in a maxim of law 4 Bravo. He who does a thing by another is considered as doing it himself.
Okay, now let me tell y'all how serious this is. Anybody who does something by somebody else. So if I say, hey, Jaron, go punch that guy in the jaw. Jaron gets prosecuted if he gets in trouble, but I told him to do it, I get prosecuted. Right? So when you as a legislative body member write a statute that says the CPS agency can go snatch somebody's kids without a warrant, without due process, without somebody being prosecuted for doing something wrong, and we don't see anything happening right now that shows that something happened wrong. You as the legislative body member, you're seeming to give permission to an agency to do something there's no lawful authority to do. If a hearing officer who's not a judge or a commissioner says to a sheriff, go take that house, go take that car, go take that kid, go take that dog, go take that grandma, go do this, go do that, I want to let you know that if you sent somebody else to do it, your anus did it. Right? It's as simple as that. No games, no silly stuff, no playing, no hocus pocus. In every state constitution, you swear to never take anything from anybody without due process of law, a jury of peers, without a warrant, without a judicial trial, and if you're doing something else, you have broken the state constitution and the federal constitution. Now, Justice Gorsuch just told you. So if you should fail to understand that you need to bring remedy now, that's a bad situation. And the people are going to share these notices and this video and this Twitter space everywhere. So you're going to be sent notice, and if your legislative actors hide it, you should be making sure they get prosecuted. Because literally they're trying to block you from standing on your right to fix the things that are done wrong. As a legislature, one of your purposes in history, and it's still the same, is not just to write legislation, but to make redress of grievances. When somebody has been done wrong based on a stupid statute that somebody tricked you into creating, without money, without delay, you should be correcting it immediately. Now, there's been situations in the Bible that are exactly like this. Chris posted it today. When God lets the people see what's going on wrong and you find out you've been doing wrong, you have a choice to correct things or to leave it the same. But let's keep going, Jeremy.
So now we're moving on to Dave's instructions, telling him what to do. Please take notice that as agency workers, state judges, presiding judges, state legislatures, etc., that you are bound by the constitutions that you have all sworn to uphold. And from this time forward, please be advised that taking children, cars, houses, weapons, rights, property, etc., without a trial by jury in a court of record following the course of the common law is unlawful. Please also take further notice that attorneys who don't have their name on the line, as they are not in positions of service and contract with the people, presenting you with the idea that it's acceptable to trample the people's rights by device or artifice, which means deception, does not in any way remove your responsibility for your wrongdoings. Furthermore, there is another element of wrong being committed when you are working in a federal program and receive financial compensation in addition to your normal salary for carrying out the functions of that program, leaving one with unclean hands on top of taking property or rights from the people without right. All past cases that bypassed the common law are unlawful. Therefore, it is my immediate demand, wish, and order that you restore all that has been unlawfully taken without constitutionally mandated due process, and notify all those who were harmed. Or you agree that any wrong that is done in this regard in the future, or that has not been corrected from the past, trespasses, is done purposefully, with full knowledge, intent, and malice, and will be recognized as such by the people, whom you swore to serve and protect. This notice is sent to you in the peace and love of Jesus Christ, that you may repent and do works worthy of the same. Maxim of law, judicial notice is a form of evidence.
Okay, so understand, people, that we ordered and told the Supreme Court, we broke down the law to them. We told them how the law is being broken and how the people are being attacked and what we have the power to do. And we demanded that the Supreme Court tell. And you can see within about 10 notices, the Supreme Court addressed every single issue we brought up in detail specifically. So this isn't a loose thing where we said, hey, Big Sean is here. Hey, Big Sean. One of the really good attorneys who've been standing up for the people is here. One of the guys I really, really love, Sean McMillan. He's one of the guys who stood up against Arizona for unlawfully taking kids, and he exposed a lot of the wrong and got parents compensated for the wrong that has been done. He's done it in California as well, which is a tough state. Going super well, Big Sean. I hope it is for you too. He's been able to help stand against some of these bad actors and put even himself on the line in order to go after them and get people compensated. And it's crazy because Sean is one of the only ones that I know that is like him. I think there's a few other that he fight along with, but he's if he was a bad guy, you would call him a gangster. He's so determined to stand against evil and corruption, and he calls it like it is, and he does it without fear. And he even ran classes to help people to learn how to do it. And so I'm thankful to God to have him here. I try to show him love every time I see him, because literally he puts his own life and family's life on the line every time he stands the way that he does. But so you guys will understand what we just saw. We just saw Supreme Court Justice Gorsuch tell every single thing we ordered him to tell. So when we told him to tell about the fact that the government was using tribunals that were not judicial, using administrative courts to go after people, he told. And now we told him to tell exactly how it's being done and how they can't give jurisdiction. That's I just got a private message from Sean. It's hilarious. So I'll tell you, Gorsuch told, guys, and he's telling that the courts, the tribunals, legislative tribunals, have been allowing people to have their property taken, their life, liberty, without due process of law, without constitutional due process, which is funny. One of the ones that Sean destroyed Arizona with is the fact that they don't use audits. I showed you guys that one video when we did our scholarly review. That was Sean, the guy who's here, who did the deposition to ask the woman Karen Wagner about their warrants and the use of them, and she came out and said, "Oh, we don't use those. We don't get warrants." That was Sean McMillan that blew her back out with the law. So, guys, it's all come full circle, and the government now is being exposed to a whole bunch of butt whoopings because the attorneys did not understand that they could not bypass constitutional due process to supplant it with some administrative hoax that would give people no protections. It is game over. So for legislative body members, attorneys, government officials, police, they all need to see this, guys, because exactly what we ordered them to do in multiple situations, they've done. Kavanaugh even jumped in and gave testimony about the same thing. We need to realize, guys, that people have been scamming the people by attacking us with things that they swore they would not do in the state constitution. You can't swear in your state constitutions that you wouldn't take things like life, liberty, and property without a trial by jury and a court of record with a jury of peers, that you wouldn't take things without warrants, and then you just get some agency and say, hey, go take their money out their account. Can't do that. And then you got federal partnerships, ASFA, and different things like that, where people are being paid money outside of their normal judgeship, right? So you got a judge who's getting paid to be a judge. He got a salary that don't change based on the law during his time of service. But then he got a side business where he got more money coming in because he's in these federal programs, where if you look at like Title 42, 674, payment to states, you're going to see that the different actors who are involved are being paid by funds from the federal secretary. So this is important, guys, because a lot of people have been harmed. A lot of people have had their property taken. Now I'm telling you, they're going to have to give it back, because any court that doesn't have jurisdiction, there's no limitation. There's no statute of limitation on jurisdiction. If somebody took something from you without jurisdiction, if someone took something from you without the constitutionally required due process, it is theft, guys. It is a crime, right? And then you get the people who have sent people out with guns and say, take that child, take the car, take the kid, take the dog, take the grandma, right? Shut down the business, do this, do that, right? People have been misled and things have been done wrong for a long time. And we, the people, have done our study. We figured out what was wrong in the law, and we have come together to break these things down, and God has given us victory. He's allowed us to do it. And we can see clearly what has been done wrong, and there's nobody in America who can deny. Notice the best attorneys for the government could not even speak before Gorsuch. He's stumbling all over the place because you can't come up with an argument for foolish things that you did that went against the constitutions, plural, when you know that the constitutions are the fundamental law. You can't say, well, the statute told me, or the governor told me, or the head of CPS told me, or this or that person told me. There's no running. There is no running, guys. There is no getting away. And so what we can do now to fix all of this, and I'm telling you guys, is going to happen. Write down the date. Say that David Jose said that the government is going to have to start returning everybody's stuff. And then hold me to it and see if this junk don't happen, just like I told y'all a month ago. I didn't even wait for the Supreme Court to put it out. I told you guys what we were going to do with the notice. For the last 3 months, I've been doing this. Told y'all what we were going to write in the notice. Told you what we were going to send to the Supreme Court, how we were going to do it. Told you how the Supreme Court was going to tell and what it was going to make them do. And they've done it like 3 times in the last few months. 3 times. We tell them what the issue is exactly word for word, and then they respond. And they're not quoting exactly what we're saying, but they're dealing with each issue bit by bit. Oh, we'll get it, Sean. We'll have it. But they're going to fix some stuff, Sean, without legislation. So without having to go and get somebody to write something new, you're going to see them start returning things. And here's why it's going to happen. Because in one of the last notices, I told the Supreme Court, that they need to openly tell that it's a crime to take people's stuff by changing jurisdictions and using administrative agencies. And Gorsuch told this is a violation even if you do it indirectly. So even if you say the agency can do it for us, your anus is still committing the crime. So the state constitutions say clearly that when you have taken from the people or harmed the people, that you have to give them justice without delay, without denial, and without cost. So they can't charge you to fix it. So Justice Gorsuch has already showed that they've stole children, houses, cars, dogs, and everything else without law. And what has to happen now is they have to give it back based on it just being right and justice. And they can't even charge anybody. Now, I'm telling you guys, watch. You're going to see this get shared around like crazy. This video is going to go around like crazy. And I'm going to tell you, this Twitter space is going to go around like crazy because people are going to give it to their government officials. I'm going to tell y'all, in the conservative world, there is zero remedy to get you your stuff back. Your money back, your time back. When people kick you out of work and they said we did it by a COVID commissioner or some bull crap that we could do this to you. They told us we could do it and we just got to wait on some judges that wasn't a judge. It was administrative, right? When they gave you, I'm going to tell y'all a secret. When we beat all the government officials across the country who wrote administrative citations, one of the ways that I beat them is because I told the judges, look, dude, I realize you're writing an administrative citation. It's not judicial. You're not acting as a judge right now. If you want to move forward with jurisdiction, please do. But it's not going to go where you think it's going to go. And they all back the freak down. And every PMA owner that I created will tell you when they went to court across the country, we ran laps through those prosecuting attorneys. They'll tell you that I did it. So I saw the administrative citations. When people start crying, I start laughing. But this is the thing. See, when you understand the fundamental law well, they're not going to pull these tricks on you and these little games and these, this little hoax that they've been trying to run. They're not going to be able to do it. So all these attacks that they've been doing on the people is from the same thing. So most of you who had your stuff taken, you never went through a judicial trial. There was never a trial by jury under the common law in a court of record, ever. Never happened. They just stole your stuff. And now they're getting busted. Now, the Supreme Court justices, they're not stupid. They understand that every time the people have stood up in American history understanding the law, it was never healthy for the government officials who did wrong, ever. So they're telling on everybody. They're not part of those programs. They don't get paid money from that. So because they don't get paid money from it, and the government officials forgot to add them in on the take, now they slipped and it's too late to fix because the people know, and the Supreme Court is telling on everybody. So there's literally nowhere to run. There's nowhere to go. And when we did the same thing with the ATF and told y'all how we were going to blow their back out with the law, and they can't deal with frames and receivers no more. They can't deal with ghost guns. People can make their own guns at home. You can't tell a felon he can't have a weapon. All this stuff happened because the people knew the law, stood up, and started taking action. We did this without a big name. We did this without any of the big so-called MAGA people coming out and giving us an opportunity. They're not winning. The big MAGA people, who I love a lot of the conservatives, and the big people, even on the other side, none of them have come out to give the people remedy and fix this junk. Not one. None of them helped you with the businesses. When they were shutting everybody down, none of them helped you keep your job by using the law and showing the government they couldn't do what they did. But God let us do it. And now, all of these government actors who came together to take your stuff and run these little legislative tribunals to steal your stuff, now they're on the spot and there's nowhere to run. So, what do we need to do? All we have to do is share this like crazy and show the people that notice. Because that notice is going to tell the legislature in every state that you're in trouble. Right? There is trouble coming and you want to be on the good side. You don't want to get caught on the side of what's happening in America right now. Because the Supreme Court is letting the cat out the bag. You'll see in many federal court cases now, they have come forth and said, hey, we made a mistake. They were doing wrong. This ain't good. We got to fix this. No, you can't do this to anybody anymore. Nope, you can't take away somebody's right to carry a gun. I don't give a freak if they went from Massachusetts to New Hampshire. They still got a right to carry a gun. All that bull they were pulling has fallen. All that gun ban stuff, California and all this stuff is being shut down, even in the federal courts now. So you got to understand, guys, and even in a state court in recent history, they dropped the fire on people based on what we started and told you guys the laws we're going to use. We used the maxims and the fundamental principles, and now it can't be denied. And the Supreme Court is doing exactly what they should do. The federal courts in many instances are doing exactly what they should do. The ATF is losing like crazy across the board. Scholars across the board are saying we don't understand what's happening. What's happening? Write that again, Sean. I missed it. About Judge Benitez. So, guys, I'm telling y'all, things are moving really fast, and the people know. And there's not going to be a way to claim ignorance. But we need to take these notices, right? We need to electronically sign them. It's going to give you a PDF to print out. You got to take them and mail them or copy them and email them as well to your state legislative body members. You should tag them on this video. You send it to them. If any of you guys want me to talk to any of your legislative body members in any state, get on Telegram. Let's set something up. I'll talk to your legislators like I did with Chris and other people across the country. We literally have one state with 50 legislators who follow what it is that we teach and do, and they understand it's the law, and they're coming out and telling them. So this was one of the most corrupt states in America. Government officials coming out, and when we say, hey, that person's breaking the law, they look into it and go after them. This is real life. Federal District Court of San Diego just trashed California time regulations. Dang it. Hey, I'm going to let you. Do you want to come say it? I don't know if you're on your computer that allows you to not speak, Sean, or if you have a mic hooked up. But I'm going to just let you come say it so you can tell me what Judge Benitez did. I don't know if you got a mic, so if you don't have the mic hooked up right now, please forgive me. Not trying to put you on the spot or if you're busy. But I'm going to just give you the link just in case. Give you the mic. Sean, can you hear me?
Hold on. Yeah, I hear you.
How's it going, big dog?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
Doing great, man. It's always good to hear from you and see you.
Yeah, it's been a long, long time. I've been underwater, man. Just so busy, it's crazy.
Oh
But
man.
anyway, I wanted to tell you when you were talking about the Second Amendment issues,
Hmm.
if you're following what's going on in California, California has just been a horrible, horrible place
Hmm.
for Second Amendment rights. It's completely, totally anti-gun. And Judge Benitez in San Diego's federal district court judge, he's just been consistently trashing California's gun laws. And, it was going up to the Ninth Circuit, some of his prior decisions, a couple of years ago, they blew him out. The Supreme Court wouldn't take it. But I'm excited to see what happens now that we have a bunch of Trump appointees in the Supreme Court and the Ninth Circuit. And Judge Benitez is still sticking to his, no pun intended, but still sticking to his guns on the fundamental rights
Yes.
to own guns and actually carry them, have the useful weapons of the day like the AR-15, the 30-round magazines,
Yep.
and all that sort of stuff. And he's coming down 100%, pro-American, pro-Constitution. It's driving the left frickin' batty.
Bro,
So that's my comment. I just wanted, when you were talking about the guns, I just
Hey.
thought it would be meaningful for you to take a look, check out what Benitez is doing.
I'll check it out. It's out of control right now. I'll tell you that it's crazy because we started dropping notices on them before the Bruin case, and I did a video and I said, hey guys, watch, within the next 2 weeks to a month, the Supreme Court is going to start looking for a whole bunch of cases to try to knock down the attacks on the Second Amendment around the country. And I told people, and then I'm just going to tell you, a little birdie came back from DC and told me, oh my gosh, DC is going crazy
Yeah,
with the
I bet.
Supreme Court about people knowing about the gun stuff, right? So I literally took like the maxims of law and I used all the state constitutions and I showed the Supreme Court, hey, when you have states that you've accepted into the Union, you also accepted their constitutions. And then I started showing like Hawaii constitutions and the others showing how they have the power to carry weapons and that the government is going against it. And it all hell broke loose. And then you see the Bruin case, you see all these different cases, range case coming out where they're showing, nope, you can't do like a two-step approach to see if the government has a compelling public interest that allow them to take guns from people. No, you swore when you signed up that they get the right to carry a gun and you wouldn't infringe, period.
Well,
Right.
yeah. The thing is, it is a two-step process when we're looking at legislation that's going to be impairing
Yes,
some right.
yes,
You
yes.
first have to look at it and say, okay, is this a fundamental right enshrined in the Constitution? And if it is,
Woo.
then the courts have to apply strict scrutiny,
That's
not
right.
rational basis.
That's right.
And
That's
strict
right.
scrutiny, almost every bill fails strict
Yeah.
scrutiny. So if they're impacting a fundamental right, they're really kind of, asked out.
Yeah, now see, that's the funny thing because in many of these different types of administrative cases, they created statutory fiat to purposely bypass the constitutions. Period. Like,
Well, that's why you got to litigate those things, man.
Yeah.
You don't take it laying down. You got to fight them.
yeah. And see, I was telling everybody about what you did in Arizona with Wagner, who thought she could just take kids without a warrant.
Yeah, that bitch.
Yeah, and you know here it's crazy. The funny thing is, she thought that she could take kids without a warrant because attorneys and bad actors in government let her believe she could do that.
Yeah, well, that was their training.
Yes.
Their training was all they had to do was give a TCN, a temporary custody notice. That's not a court order. That's just some freaking social worker's notice.
You know what? It's crazy because I've had some fights and arguments with some very bad actors, and I found out that some people have delivered me these people's records. They were inside of that same little CPS fighting world that we've been in forever. And these guys, there was a guy named Randy and a couple other people would come and say, no, David, you can't say they don't have the power to take children. It's a state statute. I'm like, I don't give a freak if it says it's a state statute.
Yeah.
If you swear in the state constitution, which is higher, that you will never do this, you can't just say somebody gave me permission to do it. So,
Well, you don't even necessarily look at the state constitution for the legislation. If it runs contrary to again, your fundamental rights that are preserved in the U.S. Constitution, supremacy clause. The U.S. Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Anything in conflict is unconstitutional.
Yeah.
So that's always going to be the fight. Is there a conflict?
Mm-hmm.
And all of these CPS, I can grab your kid without a warrant policies are just policies. They're not law.
Yeah, and they think
that's
it is.
the problem in there.
They think it is. But
Yeah,
you know what?
exactly.
So these people who were attacking, a couple of people delivered me their criminal records, and I'm like, how is it that you guys keep getting in trouble for raping kids and you got criminal records, and you're going against the people who tell the truth about the law? It's crazy. But
yeah, well, they hire on a profile, man.
Yeah,
they don't hire the best people.
Oh my gosh, man. It's unbelievable. But I tell you, I'm thankful to God now, because all of this stuff is getting caught and people are getting educated and seeing the truth, and they're realizing, hey, whoa, that's a policy. You can't use that against me. Right? How are you a trustee of the people and have the nerve to say that you can make up a policy where you could take my stuff without even constitutional due process and no wrong? You're supposed to be protecting my rights. You're trying to find a way to scam. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, that's the big thing. Hey, you were mentioning Wagner, her depo a while ago. I don't know if you've been back to the YouTube thing recently or not, but we have the entire coloring case up there now. The only thing that we're missing is the video deposition of Greg McKay, because he got a court order to prevent us from publishing it. Yeah.
You got to default? Oh my God.
I would like to publish that one, but
can you at least say if it was good or not?
Oh, it was good.
Was he looking nervous?
Good.
Was he looking nervous? Did he have a hard time speaking?
Well, he didn't have a hard time speaking, but during the depo, he actually objected that we were videoing it and refused to answer any questions. So we got the judge on the phone, and the judge said, hey, you can't do that. You answer their questions. And he stayed on the phone with us for a while to make sure that McKay did answer the questions and participate. But then he ordered me to not publish it. Man. It's like, what the hell?
And see, that's another thing that happens too often. We get government officials blocking, like, so in the Maxims it tells you how, like, any man who breaks the law or does things wrong, you can't punish another man for telling, because it should be known what criminals do in the community. But the thing is that you get a lot of times judges hiding stuff or hiding, sealing records of the criminal activities of people. And I'm like, dude, how are you? If you're working to protect the people, and that's your duty, to protect the rights of the people,
should be transparent.
Yeah, you got to be transparent. You can't. And see, here's another thing. For the regular people, the average everyday man or woman, if they broke the law, they'll just put it out there. Hey, this is what they did. But if it's a government worker or somebody making money in the process,
it's all sealed.
Yeah, you can't seal that. You know what's funny too? I'm gonna tell you this real quick. I don't want to hold you forever, but there's a gentleman. We had some affidavits and stuff that dealt with some of these issues, and a gentleman came on one of our spaces and said, "Hey, I seen one of the J6ers who got off. He used stuff like you used in your affidavits, and he won the case. So he's one of the only J6ers I know that got off. I think there's a number 2 that also used stuff similar, but he ain't telling. But
dude, I was out there.
You were out there?
I was out in DC. Yeah, with my brother, my nephew, and my son on January. It was incredible, man. What you see in the media is all bullshit.
Oh yeah,
it's all bullshit. There were 500,000 people there, majority peaceful, just some guys up front, at the Capitol. And we went up to the Capitol. We didn't go in. My son wanted to go in, but I was all, no, dude, that's a felony. We're not going in there.
Yeah.
But but the cops were all over the place, and they were just sort of ushering people around. It wasn't, and it was. I was there watching the cops taking down the barriers. And I was like, okay, well, cool. We get to go in. That's awesome. And it's so all this shit that you see on CNN or wherever, it's not true. It's just not true. Yeah. And then the FBI, they called, they interviewed me, and I was willing to talk to them. That's fine. We didn't do anything unlawful. Mm-hmm. But my son had made a Instagram video, and we went up on the steps, and you could see the door was busted in, and so we videotaped like all these people flooding into the building. Mm-hmm. And then as the National Guard showed up, so we left, and he posted it on Instagram with a little caption that says, "We've seen our fill of the inside."
Mm-hmm.
And the FBI was like on his shit forever, and I wouldn't let him talk to him,
Mm-hmm.
but I did the interview for him, and I just said, "Hey, look, you guys have the tracking data," and the guy goes, "Yeah, we have the tracking data, so you know exactly where we were."
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't go in the building, you know that.
Mm-hmm.
So what the hell? Leave him alone.
Yep.
And they never called again. That was the end of it.
See, that's the sad thing, Sean, is that you're brilliant. You're an attorney. You understand, and not just an attorney. You're not just an attorney. You're one that understands rights. I think I told people a long time ago. You were the one who told me, "Hey, Dave, a lot of the common law comes from the Bible, like Deuteronomy and stuff." It blew my mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy that you know common law and rights and different things better than most, and so you could defend yourself. But for most people, they would just fall into the trap and get caught or not know what to do. And it's crazy to me because, we have a guy who won using our stuff, and they sealed his case. So nobody.
Well, that's what they do. That's what they do, man. I mean, go try to find, like in my cases,
Mm-hmm.
go try to find any of the like really important court documents.
Mm-hmm.
They're all sealed. You're not going to find anything.
Crazy.
It's all sealed, and like the depositions that we do on the YouTube channel,
Mm-hmm.
we publish everything that we can legally publish. And it's still not key stuff. I've got Greg McKay. I've got him for 7 hours, man. I have 7 hours of video of that guy.
Dude, I would want to see that so bad, because it's like these guys are so big, bad, and tough until somebody wise enough to ask them questions. It's funny.
I'll tell you, he didn't look too tough by the end of the day.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you just mopped the floor with him, because even Karen, right, as evil as she is, you could see you asked a certain question to her, and I saw her look into her own soul, and it's like you could hear, you could almost hear in the background, like, and at this point she knew she messed up.
Yeah, there's always that deer in the headlight moment. Somewhere in the depot, there's going to be that moment when they realize that they screwed up.
Yeah, that killed me, though. She looked inside of her own soul. I was like, oh, that was it. I just saw it, Woo! Man, but
hey, David, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. You keep doing the good work you're doing, and I'm glad that you're out there. I just haven't seen you in a while because I've been working really hard, man. It never ends.
I've been ripping and running myself, man. I stopped doing spaces for a little bit to get a lot of this stuff together to take it to the next level. But I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna give you a promise. You're about to see a whole bunch of kids return, whole bunch of stuff, money being given back. It's gonna go crazy. Watch.
Yeah, well, it needs to happen. There's a lot of bad stuff happening out there in the social services arena.
Heck yeah.
Really pretty sad.
Yeah. But it's good talking to you, bro. I love it, every time you come on, man. And thank you for all the work you're doing and blessing of the people and fighting against the bad government actors. And, keep it up, because we need good fighters like you.
Well, thanks, man. You too. And like I said, keep swinging the bat.
We going at it.
All right.
All right,
Catch you later, man.
Catch you later.
Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. So that was, once again, beautiful fighter Sean McMillan, powerful attorney that goes against CPS in different states, tears their back out with real law, real good man. And, he got a deep history, when he was going after CPS in the beginning and he knew that they would retaliate. I think he had cash on hand ready to go so that his family can get up and leave if they ever wanted to come after them, because he was doing such good and powerful work and exposing so much stuff. So he is one of those guys who just, real man, don't give a darn. He's gonna do right, and he don't care if you kill him. He don't care if what you gonna do. He's gonna stand. And so it's always a blessing to have him. But I hope you guys got to hear that exchange. Because he's one of those guys who went against bad actors in government. And you see, guys, that there are things that will get sealed in cases when even a good attorney stands against a bad actor, exposes their wrong. They want to seal stuff. Yeah, I remember I told y'all about how the people control the state. The people own the state. The people are the beneficiaries and grantors when it comes to a constitution. So our forefathers write the constitutions, they leave us as beneficiaries, and it's the duty of the government officials to protect our rights and property, and they swear in order to get a job that they would do so. But it is crazy how many bad actors get to have their information sealed when there is wrong done. That shows, guys, that bad actors have helped each other to keep things going wrong, and it is a blessing that we've been able to instruct the Supreme Court and have them tell and expose these wrongs. And as we watch and we see the different things that's happening, we see that we're putting out notice and the government officials are changing. We see that we are leading states, literally leading the legislators in what to do to make things right with the people. And we see them doing it in many states across the country now. And you guys have witnessed it. It's not a game, but real people working with real government officials to fix stuff. We realize how important it is. Now, it's not very many times that you're going to be able to hear an attorney who fights like crazy as well as a regular guy fighting like crazy on the same call, saying the same things, right? Realizing that the same wrongs happen against us. I told you guys on my last space about how private tribunals try to seal everything. They don't want anybody to know the wrongs. And this is why I just opened up a federal case, opened up a Supreme Court case just to drop all the evidence in, right? I just wanted people to be able to see the real record that they would normally seal out in the open. So when we come back full circle, as we have now, there's no misunderstandings, there's no lies, there's no hiding the truth. See, in a lot of those tribunals, you see an attorney as powerful as what we just had on, telling that when you try to find my main documents in a court case, his main documents, it's sealed, it's gone, you can't find it. How in the world is that possible, that you got a man who will fight as an attorney, give up his time, give up his safety to stand for the people to get a victory, and then the important documents that will tell what they're doing wrong missing in a court case? Can't see it. That's crazy. But thank God we have people like him. So guys, what do we need you to do? We need for you, as many of you already have, start tagging all of your legislators, get with them one-on-one if you can, and let them see that there's reckoning coming. The people know what's wrong. The Supreme Court is telling, and we're giving people a chance to make stuff right. This is your chance to have stuff fixed. We need to give this video out. We need to give this space out across the country. Once again, guys, there's no such thing of a MAGA platform that's telling the truth like this. There's no such thing of a Trump platform that knows the law. It don't exist. Trump wouldn't be going through what he's going through right now if everybody just knew the law, right? A lot of us wouldn't go through what we go through if we just knew the law. So understanding and knowing the law makes a difference, because the whole paradigm shifts, right? The whole paradigm. Not just in some of these states where we've been working, where, for instance, you guys might have seen one politician come out the other day talking about John Locke, talking about the demand for government to follow the law, talking about the fundamental due process, the fundamental rights, just like brilliant attorney Sean McMillan was just talking about. That's not normal, guys. It's only happened because we've done our work, done the study, and we taught the government who sees that we are giving them real information with real law that they swore to but didn't realize it. When they see it face to face, guys, there becomes a change. So if you want America to be right, you want all the children back, you want all the money back that they took from you unlawfully, you want your cars, dogs, kids, etc. back. If you want all these things, it just takes for you to take part and share this stuff and show people. I'm telling you, when the government officials find out at the lower level that they've been had by bad actors who told them they could do stuff that was unlawful. See, Sean McMillan has had cases, guys, where people have had to settle or pay out large sums of money for these same lies that we are exposing to the Supreme Court right now. And then the stuff gets sealed. So, in other words, government officials pay when somebody as brilliant as Sean comes, to fight them. But in most cases, guys, they rip you off, do you wrong, and you don't get any remedy. Well, now we're going to get remedy, because those government actors would only correct things because they were challenged by someone who really knew the law and would use it. So if Sean wouldn't have done that, Sean said, in a nation of laws, we are handicapped by not knowing the laws. Amen. That is true. See, guys, if Sean wouldn't have attacked, right? If Sean wouldn't have stood up for people and fought, there would have never been a victory. But Sean is one of the rare few that can say he's had victories because he stood up, even when other people didn't want to. And now there's hundreds of thousands of us, if not more, who understand and know, and it's going to accelerate quickly now because you guys can see it all coming to a head, right? When we get to the point where we're telling you, we're going to write a notice, the Supreme Court is going to see it, and they're going to do this. And then they do it, you know, this ain't a joke no more. This ain't hopium. This ain't, it happened by happenstance. This is, we're telling you exactly what's going to happen, and it's coming to fruition over and over and over again. God has blessed us to do things in a way that is unbelievable. And I'm thankful for you guys. I'm going to open up the mic real quick and let a couple of people talk. Do we email them this video? You can email the video. You can share them with the video. Share them this video. You can also share the Twitter space. You can also take the notice that we have being electronically signed on Telegram and on Twitter. And you can actually take that and you can share that with your government officials. You can sign it electronically. It'll go to the federal legislature and the Supreme Court. And then you can also get it to them by printing it out, because you're going to get a PDF. You can choose to get a PDF after you sign the job form. The PDF you can take, send it to your legislators with mail, right? If you know of any good legislative body members, send it to them first, so you save money. Send it to your chief justices of all of the state courts, right? Send it to the Supreme Court in your state. Send it to the Attorney General. Send it to the governor. Now, the thing is, guys, for a long time, they used to be able to get away with a lot of foolishness. But when they see a Supreme Court justice telling that something is wrong, or multiple, it really changes the way they look at it. So it's not a fight you against some attorney. It's now going to be the Supreme Court justice has said it's wrong and you can't do it, and you're just giving them notice so they can see. So that is what we are going to do to cap this off, guys. We're going to do a big campaign this week. We're going to mail off a ton. We're going to email a ton. I want you to tag all your legislative body members, give them this video, all of your precinct committeemen, all your PCs, everyone you know that is in politics. And guys, remember to give it to Kelly Townsend too. Because I tried to tell her years ago. She didn't think I was telling the truth. Now we're right at the point where she thought it would never go. Please send it to Kelly Townsend too. But with all that being said, guys, we got a couple of more mics I'm going to allow to speak. Guys, let's keep stuff pointed and aimed at what we're dealing with, because politicians are going to see this, who are trying to make corrections to what is wrong. They're going to share it with their colleagues. We already know that we teach several states politicians what the law is. I'm sure they're going to give it to each other. So let's keep things on point. But let's start taking mics. Who do we have today? If today is still here. Today, you still here? Today, are you here while it is yet called today? All right, we're going to let Angry Pop go first, then Danette. 3-tier, I'm going to give you a mic. I'm asking that you keep things pointed. If anybody starts to speak things that are crazy or whatever, you trolling, we're going to just go ahead and remove you today. So just know we're not going to have a lot of bull. So Angry Pop, go ahead.
Okay, Brother David, I just want to read off a few of the maxims right quick, and it's kind of in line with what you're saying. And last one that I'm going to read off is going to be a big wake-up call for our legislators. Okay, the first one is God alone makes the air. That's 58O. 58H. The law favors the inheritance of a man. Our rights are inheritances from God, by the way, people. And 58K, co-heirs are deemed as one body or person by reason of the unity of right which they possess. That means all of us standing together, exercising by right our inheritance. Common law is a right. Y'all heard it read in that notice a minute ago. It's a right that can't be denied us, and they have denied it. So, with that, I'm going to go down to 58T. This one specifically for the legislators to help them understand they do not want this to go to penal action. 58T says a penal action is not given against an heir unless such heir is benefited by the wrong. Penal actions arising from anything of a criminal nature do not pass the heir. In other words, everything they have benefited by criminal action, should they allow this to go to penal, can be taken away from their children and their heirs as well. So I will drop it right there.
Cool. Thank you for those words, Angry Pop. Danette, go ahead, open up your mic.
David, this is such a wonderful space. Thank you so much. I have been tagging some of the state legislators. I have a question. In order to get a Florida voter's registration card, there is a statute that says a person registering to vote must subscribe to the following oath. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will protect and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Florida, et cetera, et cetera. Could you set me straight? Are they really putting us in a statutory jurisdiction in order to express our right to vote?
Wait, say that again now. Say what they.
In order to get a voter's registration card in Florida, you must swear an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Florida.
That's in the statute?
That is a statute. That's a statute,
You
97.
can't really do that because you have a birthright to be one of the people of Florida, which gives you the right to vote.
Exactly. So my question is then, is our entire Florida legislature committing a trespass of the highest magnitude against the people?
Well, some of them might not have been there when it was created, but the
True.
thing that you would have to do is give it to them and tell them to correct it. Now, if you give them notice and tell them to correct it and they don't correct it, that could be an issue. That's
It's
how you have to
amazing
deal
the
with
things
it.
that you teach that I'm now studying going, wow, they just about everything on the book is unlawful.
Well, the statutes are not supposed to be created to keep the people in line. Is to be created to keep the. So when you create a constitution, you grant authority to government officials and you tell them what they can't touch. So then anything made in pursuance of that would just further show how they are to handle the business that you give them to handle. It was not made for them to police the people. The common law is there for that. If somebody goes and steps on your yard or breaks your window, the common law is there for that. A jury can tell if it's right or wrong. Sorry, these flies have gotten in and out. They're driving me crazy. But the jury can tell if somebody has done wrong. It's that simple, right? So all these statutes that they're making to say that they got to keep the people in line, that's not what you were elected for. You were elected to make sure that the people's rights and property are protected, period. Right? So when you think you got to make a statute to police the people, no, you make statute to cover how you are going to protect the people's rights and property and be a benefit to them. Nothing else.
Amen.
Super simple stuff, you know? All right, we're going to let 3-tier services, aka Safety Steve, come in.
Thank you, sir. Apologize for my voice. I've been sick. Man, I'm really glad I found your space. Good to see a lot of good friends in here. Angry Pop, always good to hear from you. You know, David, the work you're doing is paramount to how things get changed in our country. And you were talking about the Second Amendment, which is a big part of my work. It has been crazy to see how notices have changed. What's been happening in our country related to gun rights? It's off the charts.
You're right. It's crazy. It is crazy to see. It's nuts how our forefathers could say that by broad diffusion of knowledge, how much good can come. It's crazy to see them say that, and then see how true it really is. They didn't say, "Hey, you can make the nation better by buying more tanks, or getting a navy to work for the people, or anything like that." Which a lot of people say, "Oh, we need more weapons," right? They said a broad diffusion of knowledge is what's necessary to keep a state free. A broad diffusion of knowledge. They knew, the government officials aren't that tough. If you just broadly diffuse the knowledge and let everybody know, the paradigm will shift and everything will flip. Period. That easy.
Amen. And you know what? Here's what's interesting. A lot of people that I work with in training on the Second Amendment, self-defense, because the Second Amendment is about self-defense. It's not about guns, actually. Guns are part of it, of course, but it's arms, and that could be anything. We've seen in the last 3 years record sales of firearms every month. We've seen more states flip to constitutional carry. We've seen more anti-gun, anti-Second Amendment laws overturned. So keep it up, man. Keep up what you're doing, brother. I gave you a follow. I got to jump in your spaces more. This is great stuff. God bless you. Stay safe. Appreciate your work. Thank you for the mic.
It's all God, boss, and I thank you. And I just want to say, how they say real recognize real. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on out there. A lot of people saying there's no hope, there's nothing we can do. And then there's the people who really understand law and can see how things go when you stand up and do that which is right. So I just thank you for even recognizing it's all God. But when he uses us to do what's necessary, it's always good to have people who will say amen. That's the way it is. So be it. That's what we lack. A lot of people are fighting that which is true because they don't know it. But then at the same time, those of us who understand that which is true are doing the action and seeing it work. We live in a totally different realm. And so when we stand with each other and agree that this is how it is, it's able to open the doors for more people to see. Now, we don't need everybody to get victory, but it's always good to invite everybody in to get victory because we want people to be able to stand on their rights and be free. We know we're going to win all together. We know that we're winning all together, but we want everybody to have the spoils that come with actually being victorious. So thank you for that, dear sir. I think it was Emergent who was...
Hi, David. So, I've heard a lot of good praise to you. I've heard one of your rooms way back when I listened to the beginning, and sounded pretty good and stuff. And so I've been setting myself up for kind of a campaign of sorts, and it all fell in pretty good. I'm on the roster to run next week is the deadline. I just thought I'd come up here and really emphasize that your legislators could be you if you get off the couch next week, and I'm not talking just to you, Dave, I'm talking to everybody, and go register to be a candidate, right? So I got registered. I got till the 13th to amend it and run for whatever higher branches there is available, funding, capable. So I was thinking, since how the administrators trespassed me, had me arrested, then the state just dropped it, and now I'm registered for the candidacy of Board of Education. I'm really thinking as of Friday that I need to get an attorney to be a treasurer and to get a resolution from the administrators because we got to go forward with a little something, you know. Because if I'm going to be a candidate, of course I got to be president. So I haven't done any of that, and I'm up here in the North Carolina mountains hunting that up. I got 2 more days this week to do that. The sky's the limit. Forward leaning people, great job. But what gives you the thought that they'll reconcile and restore people whole with their lost time and money if I mean, you know, you can't get them to do much of anything to correct their course once they start one through the adjudication process. I don't see anybody really defending our rights like, you know, you're instructing them to. So,
Well,
yeah,
I'll tell you
great
how
job.
Easily. So
Just next week, remember next week, people, you can run if you want to. Go ahead, Dave. Thank you.
yeah, so I'll tell you how easily. So when people were locked down for COVID and they were not allowed to open up their businesses, they were told by the millions that they're not allowed to go outside. They can't carry on their own business. They need to shut the doors. And 50% of the entities that closed the doors didn't open back up. And so would you agree that it seemed like there was nothing that people could do during COVID and that no government officials or anything helped anybody to stay open?
I'd agree that yeah,
Okay.
I'd agree pretty much. Nobody defended or there's no commissioned officer to defend us.
Gotcha.
And I'd
So-
like to see that in the courtrooms and in the school halls.
Gotcha. So I'll tell you, we had a couple of hundred businesses. You can look up Tommy Trevillis in New Jersey, who they tried to shut down his entity. I opened it back up as a PMA and went against government, and he actually gives testimony of how I went against the government, and I was the first one to go into Jersey. And he was the first one to open as a PMA. We went directly head up against government and defeated all the prosecuting attorneys, state and county. And he actually built so much wealth during a time when everybody shut down that he went from 1 entity to 3. So his whole life changed for the better during COVID. While everybody else was locked down, we were wide open. If you take all the entities that are self-made entities in California, another what they call commie state, I went against the prosecuting attorneys in that state, and every entity that followed what I said and used the law stayed open and won in every single situation. Without an attorney, without a judge, and without any sheriff or anybody to protect us. If you look at Josh Barnett, Metroflex Gym in Arizona, I opened up that entity against Doug Ducey and them making mandate for everybody to close down. He was able to reopen back up in front of everybody. He was open during the whole COVID, taking videos with no shirt on and his members and actually sending it to the governor and tagging him like day after day. And that happened in a place in Arizona where the government officials don't mind coming with guns. You look at Diesel Muscle, I opened them up. You look up, there was actually an entity on an Indian tribal land. I opened them up against the Indian tribe, face to face. Didn't run from them, I went directly at them. If you look at Neil Johnson, Neil of the North on Twitter, big alternative host that works with Behizzy and Nick and all those guys. We had some of his followers asked to stop the mandates in their county or town, and they actually brought me in to do a notice with them. Within 2 weeks, we shut down the whole mandate. We got Nick D from Connecticut, who decided that he wasn't getting a shot to work, and we did notice an affidavit. He collected $16,500 without going to court and without an attorney. $16,500 for a job he never worked for. He put out videos of what we did. A lady followed the process who worked in a certain place in the same state. She ended up getting $75,000 cash. She did follow my process, but got an attorney to collect the money for her, which is smart. You don't waste your time trying to chase money when you can get somebody else to do it. But she did the process with us, and then got the attorney to go collect the money. She collected 75 grand. No police, no sheriff, no politician on our side. And we ended up doing about 200 private entities as private membership associations, went against government nationwide. Nobody could stop us. We got 112 kids returned from CPS. No government officials on our side. No weapons, no nothing. So, and then we've also got the Supreme Court to move. We also flipped an entire state in the East Coast. There's people on here who can tell you that there's government officials who literally follow everything we say in a particular state and in other states. So we're literally doing the exact things that people say cannot be done or they don't see it being done. We do it already. That's what we do every day. So a lot of people used to come on my Twitter spaces and say the government ain't gonna listen to us, but I have people who are not my friends, but people who are connected to them, right? People who have known them longer than they knew me, who will tell that the government follows us, and nobody else that I know of in the nation can show a movement happening like that. So when I say it's going to happen, it's going to happen, and it's not by me guessing, it's by understanding knowledge and wisdom and how to move things with government. Most of our government officials aren't bad guys who want to just do wrong. Most of our government officials are people who got into office to just make a difference and do things good and to serve. But when somebody who's an attorney tells them that they are supposed to be doing things wrong, and the people have trusted the attorneys, what ends up happening is they end up in a situation where they don't like what's happening. They don't understand exactly what's going on and why it's this way, but they kind of feel like, okay, there's nothing I can do because I'm being outvoted and such. But that's not happening anymore. Our life is totally different because of what God has allowed us to do.